Williamson might be the most confusing player in the NBA today. One moment, it's showtime. He's built like a tank, but moves like a panther, exploding to the rim with power we've almost never seen before. But when he's out of shape, fans joke that he looks like the love child of Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. And when he's locked in, when he's lean, he looks like a perfect blend of Sir Charles and Diesel in their primes. In February 2025, the Pelicans announced Zion had slimmed down to 264 pounds, his lightest weight since entering the league, and the results were immediate. In the second half of that season, Zion played the best basketball of his career, dominating both ends of the floor and reminding everyone why he was once called a generational talent. But here's the problem. The same question always lingers. Can it last? Will Zion finally stay healthy and lead New Orleans to real playoff success? Since being drafted first overall in 2019, he's only suited up for 45% of possible games. And shockingly, he still has 0 playoff appearances. He's also the only NBA superstar with a contract tied to a weight clause, requiring his combined weight and body fat percentage to stay under 295 pounds. This is the Zion Williamson paradox. Is he truly a once-in-a-lifetime superstar waiting to fulfill his destiny? Or is he on his way to being remembered as one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history?
High school stardom and rise to fame. The legend of Zion really exploded in 2016 when clips of his violent dunks began flooding the internet. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. This wasn't some 6'10" center, it was a teenager throwing down windmills and tomahawks like he was in an NBA dunk contest. Just a few years earlier, though, Zion was a 5'9" point guard, and nothing suggested he'd ever become a future superstar. The truth is, genetics had always been on his side. His father, Lateef Williamson, was a college defensive lineman at 6'3" and over 260 pounds. His mother, Sharonda Sampson, was a sprinter at Livingston College, quick and explosive. Zion was the perfect combination. Between 8th and 9th grade, he shot up to 6'3", and by his sophomore year in high school, he had reached his current height of 6'6". That growth spurt came with intense pain in his knees and back. For a while, he couldn't move without hurting. But when the pain went away, the world saw the birth of a monster. Zion himself said, "Once the pain went away, all this athleticism that I have today came out. I have no idea where it came from, but I embraced it." The guard skills he built when he was shorter didn't disappear. They combined with his new size and strength to create something basketball had never seen before. As a sophomore, he averaged 28 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 3 steals, leading his team to a regional championship. By his junior year, he was averaging 37 points and 13 rebounds, breaking the South Carolina record for most 30-point games in a season. Celebrities began showing up at his games, rocking his jersey. In his senior year, Zion looked like a man among boys. 36 points per game, 11 rebounds, windmills, alley-oops, 360s with either hand. He wasn't just good, he was a viral sensation, the most hyped high school player since LeBron James. But Zion wasn't just hype. He was built like a tank at 270 pounds with a 45-inch vertical, moving with the speed of a guard and the power of a linebacker. He defied physics, and people began asking the same question. Was this kid destined to be the next face of the NBA, or was his body too unique, too heavy, too risky to last?
College dominance at Duke. Zion could have gone anywhere, but he chose Duke, joining Cam Reddish and R.J. Barrett to form one of the most hyped recruiting classes in history. The pressure was unreal. The expectations were sky high, and somehow Zion made all of it look too easy. From the moment he stepped on the court, he was a walking highlight reel. In his very first college game, he dropped 28 points and shattered the school record for a debut. A few weeks later, against Syracuse, he scored 35 and set the freshman scoring record. Night after night, he was a force of nature, flying through the air like a superhero trapped in a college jersey. But then came the moment that shook the entire sports world. February 20th, 2019. Duke versus North Carolina. 36 seconds into the game, with Barack Obama sitting courtside, Zion planted his foot and his Nike shoe exploded. He collapsed with a knee sprain, and the image of him clutching his leg in pain went viral instantly.
Nike stock dropped $1.1 billion the next day. The hype turned into fear. Was this unstoppable freak of nature actually human after all? Would injuries ruin him before he even got started? But Zion wasn't finished. Just 3 weeks later, he came back stronger than ever. In the ACC tournament against Syracuse, he scored 29 points with 14 rebounds and 5 steals, shooting a perfect 13 for 13 from the field, the best shooting game in Duke history. CBS even created a Zion cam just to follow him around during March Madness. He opened the tournament with 25 points against North Dakota State, then carried Duke to a 1-point win over UCF with 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists in a game that had fans on the edge of their seats. But the dream season ended in heartbreak. Against Michigan State in the Elite Eight, Zion poured in 24 points and grabbed 14 rebounds, but Duke lost by a single point. Just like that, one of the greatest freshman seasons ever was over. In 33 games, Zion averaged 22.6 points, 8.9 rebounds, and shot 68% from the field, the highest ever by a freshman. He wasn't just a college star, he was a phenomenon, and the hype heading into the NBA was unlike anything the league had seen since LeBron James.
NBA draft and early professional career. After such dominance on both ends of the court, going pro was the obvious next step for Zion. And when the lottery balls bounced New Orleans' way, the Pelicans landed the #1 pick. Nobody was shocked when the commissioner announced the New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson from Duke University. He was supposed to be the franchise savior. But before he could even play a real game, disaster struck. In preseason, Zion tore his meniscus. The timetable was 6 weeks, but the Pelicans stretched it to 3 months, terrified of risking their most valuable asset. By the time January 20th, 2020 arrived, the hype was boiling over. Zion finally made his NBA debut against the Spurs. For 3 quarters, it was underwhelming. Limited minutes, rusty legs, just 5 points. Then suddenly, he erupted. For a guy labeled as a non-shooter, Zion started raining threes. 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. 17 straight points in just a few minutes. Zion 4 for 4. Welcome to the NBA. The arena exploded. The basketball world lost its mind. And overnight, the LeBron comparisons felt real. Just 2 games later, he grabbed his first double-double, throwing down dunks that rattled the rim and sent shockwaves through the league. He followed that with a 13-game streak of 20-plus points, the longest ever by a teenager. Even in a season cut short by the pandemic, Zion averaged 22.5 points on a ridiculous 58% shooting, plus 6 rebounds and 2 assists. It looked like the legend of Zion Williamson had officially begun.
Breakout second season and all-star recognition. When the next season tipped off, Zion looked unstoppable. For 25 straight games, he scored at least 20 points on over 50% shooting, setting a new NBA record and proving that defenders had no answer for him. He was like a 5-ton wrecking ball, crashing into opponents who bounced off helplessly, unable to match his insane mix of power and speed. But Zion wasn't just brute force, he had finesse too. Watching him twist in midair felt like seeing a ballet dancer trapped inside the body of a linebacker. He'd contort, spin, and bend around 2 or even 3 defenders, finding impossible angles to kiss the ball off the glass. The way he combined violence with grace was something basketball had never seen before. By his second season, the league couldn't ignore him. Zion made his first All-Star game, throwing down lobs and hammering dunks with ease. And when the dust settled, his numbers were jaw-dropping. 27 points, 7 rebounds, nearly 4 assists, and a mind-blowing 61% shooting from the field. He wasn't just scoring, he was scoring more efficiently than almost anyone in NBA history. At just 20 years old, Zion had already climbed into the top 10 in both scoring and field goal percentage, putting together one of the most dominant sophomore seasons the game had ever witnessed.
Just when it felt like Zion was finally turning the corner, disaster struck again. He suffered a Jones fracture in his foot, and while the team said he'd be ready for his 3rd season, the timeline kept slipping. First it was December, then the All-Star break, but the comeback never came. Zion ended up missing the entire 2022 season, sitting on the bench while the Pelicans fought hard but lost in the first round of the playoffs. What made it worse was that fans could see him warming up before games, looking heavy, looking out of shape, fueling whispers that he wasn't living the life of a pro athlete. One clip even went viral, with people saying he looked like Shaq's baby. Doubts exploded. Was Zion committed? Was his body already betraying him? Still, despite all the drama, the Pelicans doubled down, handing him a $193 million extension that could rise to $231 million if he made an All-NBA team. But here's the twist. The deal wasn't fully guaranteed. For the first time ever, a superstar had his contract tied to weigh-ins, forcing Zion to keep his weight and body fat under 295 just to secure his future. When Zion suited up at the start of the 2023 season, he was still clearly overweight, but offensively, he looked unstoppable. In his debut, he scored 25 points, bulldozing defenders like they weren't even there. Yet on defense, his weight showed, especially in transition, where he looked sluggish. By early December, after trimming down, he reminded everyone why he was special, averaging 33 points and 8 rebounds on 70% shooting to win Player of the Week. On December 28, he exploded for a career-high 43 points in a 119-118 win over the Timberwolves, leaving fans and commentators stunned, calling him a superstar in the making. But just a week later, disaster struck. A hamstring injury ruled him out for weeks. Despite missing time, Zion was voted to his second All-Star game, averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, and nearly 5 assists. Still, his comeback kept getting delayed. In April, the Pelicans announced he'd miss the rest of the season, including the play-in game against the Thunder, which New Orleans lost, ending their year. Another season wasted. Then the summer brought more controversy, as adult film star Mariah Mills posted a storm of tweets about their relationship while Zion was expecting a child with another woman. Instead of headlines about his dominance, Zion became a target for ridicule, his name trending for all the wrong reasons. Once again, the paradox grew louder. Is he truly the generational superstar destined to carry the Pelicans? Or just another tragic what-if?
2024-2025 seasons, breakthrough and recurring injuries. Despite all the off-court drama, the endless jokes about his weight, and the whispers that he would never live up to the hype, the start of the 2024 season felt different. For the first time in years, Zion Williamson looked locked in. He was healthy, leaner, and finally playing the best basketball of his career. His scoring average dipped to 22.9 points per game, but that number didn't tell the full story. Zion had evolved. He was now averaging a career-high 5 assists, grabbing nearly 6 rebounds, shooting 57% from the field, and actually giving consistent effort on defense. For the first time, he wasn't just putting up stats, he was winning games. He led the Pelicans to 49 wins, the second best regular season in franchise history. In most years, that kind of record gets you a top seed, but in a brutal Western Conference, New Orleans still found itself in 7th, forced into the play-in. And in that do-or-die game against the Lakers, Zion delivered the most electrifying performance of his life. The Lakers jumped out to an 18-point lead midway through the third quarter, and it looked like the Pelicans' season was slipping away. But then Zion took over. Possession after possession, he bulldozed through defenders, finishing at the rim with soft touch and ferocious power. The crowd in New Orleans was on fire, every basket feeling like a thunderclap. He erased the deficit almost by himself. With just 3 minutes left, Zion spun into the lane, floated up a lefty shot over Anthony Davis, and dropped in his 40th point of the night to tie the game. The building was shaking. It felt like destiny. And then silence. As the crowd roared, Zion grabbed his left hamstring and grimaced. He knew it instantly. His night was over. Cameras caught him limping to the bench, 40 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists already on the box score, but no chance to finish what he started. Without him, the Pelicans couldn't hang on. They lost the play-in, limped into the playoffs, and got swept by OKC in 4 games. Zion still had 0 playoff minutes. Another season gone, another year where fans were left wondering, what if? Still, there was hope. The Pelicans had proven they could compete with the best when Zion was out there, and with a young, deep roster, expectations for 2025 were sky high. Maybe this would finally be the year. But then the cycle repeated. Zion started strong, dominating early, only for a hamstring injury to strike again, costing him 27 games. With Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, and Herb Jones also sidelined, the Pelicans collapsed, losing 29 of their first 34 games. Once again, Zion was stuck on the bench in street clothes, watching another season fall apart. To make things worse, on January 10th, the team suspended him for being late to a flight. Coach Willie Green admitted that it wasn't just one incident, it was the latest in a pattern of unprofessional behavior. It felt like rock bottom. Trade rumors exploded. The Pelicans even tested the market for him, but his value had never been lower. For the first time, fans and analysts openly asked whether New Orleans needed to move on. But then, like a flash of lightning, Zion reminded the world of who he could be. When he returned later that season, he was the lightest he'd been since entering the league, 264 pounds, and the difference was obvious. He was explosive, relentless, dominant. On February 27th, he torched Sacramento for 40 points, and just days later, he recorded his first triple-double with 27 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds against Phoenix. On March 11th, he did it again, putting up 22 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds against the Clippers. He was engaged on defense, disruptive in the passing lanes, even contesting shots like the player scouts once called a generational two-way talent. For a brief moment, it looked like the Zion we were promised. But just as quickly, the curtain fell. The Pelicans shut him down again, citing long-term health concerns. Another season ended with Zion playing only 30 games. The paradox lived on. When he's on the court, he looks like a top 5 player in the world, the kind of superstar who could carry a franchise to glory. But the reality is, he's barely been available, missing more than half the games since he was drafted. Every time it seems like he's ready to finally take over, another injury, another setback, another what if.
It's been 6 years since Zion was drafted, and he still hasn't played a single playoff game. The question everyone keeps asking is simple. Can this version of Zion finally last? According to him, yes. He says he's finally committed to his body, focusing on mobility, building strength in those hamstrings that betrayed him so many times. But if you're a Pelicans fan, it's fair to stay skeptical. We've all seen this cycle before. He dominates, he gets hurt, the debates about minute restrictions take over, and then comes the drama with the medical staff, the coaching staff, and the front office. Zion himself even admitted it. If I could play back-to-backs, I would. Physically, I can. But the Pelicans don't think it's smart right now, so I go with it. That tug-of-war has played out too many times, and we're still waiting for one season, just one, where Zion plays fully healthy and without controversy. When he's on the floor, there's no doubt. He looks like a top 10 player in the NBA. Unstoppable in transition, a monster in the paint, disruptive on defense, and his playmaking keeps getting sharper. If he even develops a consistent jumper, he could be first-team All-NBA and maybe even an MVP candidate. But that's all filled with ifs, because Zion has already left fans disappointed too many times. Now with lawsuits off the court adding even more noise, this offseason will once again be about things other than basketball. The paradox continues. He's only 25 years old, and his future is still wide open. He could become a Hall of Famer, or he could go down as one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history. The only thing we know for sure is that the clock is ticking. Thanks for watching Nonstop, and if you enjoyed this video, we've got another one waiting for you right here. But I want to hear from you. Do you think Zion can finally stay healthy and dominate, or are we just waiting for the next setback? Drop your thoughts below, and let's talk about it.